that's something that we've learned is that make sure the values resonate with you, the founder, and then just continue like CRO, like Chief Reminding Officer, keep reminding people. And you do that by making sure you hire, fire, promote, and bonus people based on them. Hello and welcome to Confessions of a B2B Entrepreneur. Tom Hunt here. And today we have an interview with a good friend of mine, Eric Melchor. The show is called Innovators Can Laugh. And we cover a number of different things. We talk about fame, how it started, how we've managed to grow it to this level. And then actually my favorite part of the interview was I shared what I think are the 3 things that anyone needs to do if they want to blow up their LinkedIn profile organically. I think this is one of the most powerful things for a B2B entrepreneur to do right now. Yes, of course, it can bring clients, but actually more importantly, and the bigger impact for us has been the ability to drive more inbound hires on the applicant side, especially if you're a service business. This is like one of the crucial processes, in my opinion, for your company is to bring in the best, most value aligned people. And it's really helped for us. And so I go through the 3 things midway through the interview. I'm also going to be sharing more about those 3 things on LinkedIn and on the email list. So massive shout out to Eric for having me on. Go and subscribe to his podcast. It'll be linked below. And I hope you enjoy this episode.
A bit of background for the audience. Tom has tried and failed at 17 different businesses, but he's actually having a lot of success with Fame, a B2B podcast agency that helps B2B brands produce and grow their podcasts. His team is fully remote. There's 71 full-time employees, and they're on pace to do about $3.5 million, maybe more. And according to his LinkedIn profile, he has no idea what he's doing. Okay, Tom, I thought we could talk about 4 things here. What did you learn from one of the businesses that you failed at? What did you learn the most? The second thing is Fame. The first year, you're a bootstrapper. What did your day-to-day look like? The third topic, LinkedIn. You've gone from like 25,000 followers to almost 100,000 in less than 2 months. And then the fourth thing is, I think you're a bit of an introvert. At least that's what you've shared on LinkedIn. So I want to know, how does an introvert lead people? Because you've got a pretty sizable company here. So I'm curious to know more about that. So starting with the first topic, obviously we're not going to dive into all 17 businesses, but is there one where you felt like you actually learned a lot?
I think the most formative attempt was a male leggings company that me and my 2 best friends started in 2013. First business, or maybe first or second. And we noticed that like male jeans were getting skinnier and skinnier. So the next natural step was obviously for men to start wearing leggings. It was kind of happening in the sport and yoga world back then. And so we were like, instead of jumping on that trend of like making like leisure wear, which would have been a good idea, we were like, we're going to change male fashion. And we designed some leggings, got them made in China and started selling them through an e-com store. Managed to like hack our way onto Dragon's Den, which is like Shark Tank in the US. Didn't get any investment raised there and got actually humiliated. We can link to the video below. Anyway, over from 2013 to 2017, we probably sold about 2,000 to 3,000 pairs. So not like horrendous. But the big learning there was that none of us had any experience in fashion or manufacturing. And I think the reason why it failed was because the product that we created and distributed, it was okay, like just about wearable for a year or something, but it wasn't great. And so my learning there is that, and this is something that I truly believe now, I think we're doing an okay job at it at Fame, is if you can just build something that's like significantly better than competitors or the same / slightly better, but at lower cost, then you will grow and the business will work. And then you just put marketing on top to speed up the growth.
Yeah.
So that's something we didn't realize then, but it's something that we've learned. And so at Fame, we believe retention is the foundation of growth. And so a big focus of our time is like, how do we make service better and clients happier? Because if we do that, we know the company's going to grow.
Yeah. A few questions about this business. Did you give away any free leggings to the sharks that were in the Den show?
I'm pretty sure they got we had samples and we gave the samples out. I don't think we got the samples back. It doesn't mean that they probably didn't wear them, to be honest. But one of them said, I quote, "You do realize that in 20 years, this is going to be on YouTube and your kids are going to be watching. So this was 10 years ago. It's still on YouTube. And actually one of the three does have a kid, but the kid's only like 6 months old. So he's probably going to see it in a couple of years. So that dragon, Duncan Valentine, was correct.
Okay. I'm a bit surprised that you sold a few thousand. Who was buying these? Where were they buying them from?
There was a few customer segments. So they're buying them from meggings.com, which is our domain. And I would say the majority were buying them for running or yoga or the gym or CrossFit. Then we had a small section for like fancy dress at festivals. And then we had the rest were like people that believed in the mission of us changing male fashion. And so they would buy them for proper outfits. That was only a small proportion.
Okay. You know how you see cars out there and they're advertising their business, their advertisement on the car with the name and everything. Were you wearing these pants or whatever you want to call them, like every day to promote them?
Me personally, I was like probably wearing them once a week. Okay. So I wear them to the gym, I wear them running, and would wear them socially on like very specific occasions.
Okay. I'm surprised that 3 guys got together and they're like, this is a great idea. I mean, obviously one person has ideas. 2, okay, now you got a team, but 3, that's kind of an anomaly. Okay. Are you still friends with those 2 other former business
Yeah, they're still like my best friends. One of them has gone on to create a much bigger company than Fame. So hopefully he learned as well from the experience.
Okay. All right. Let's dive into our second topic here, and that is Fame. You're a bootstrapper, and you're very proud of that. I'm a bootstrapper myself. I'm really curious to know, what was that first year like, Tom? And what was that day-to-day? What did that look like for you? How did you get the traction? How did you get your initial customers? What were you really focused on? And if you're looking back, is there anything that you would have done differently that you know now?
So I think this is one of the reasons why we have been successful, in that the leader, which is me, has done absolutely every role in the company. So let's break it down in terms of the day-to-day. I was probably spending 10% of my time on sales and marketing. We basically got the first lead through Google paid on organic. So I was like running that, and then I was doing sales calls, the 10-20% of the time. It wasn't a massive amount of lead flow, But that echoes what I was saying earlier about retention of the foundation and growth, like really focusing on making the clients that we did have happy. So after 1 year, we probably had like 8 clients. But at the end of the year, started at 1. And so throughout the year, the 80% that I wasn't spending on growth was spent on delivery. So we have different roles in the company now, like, which is the project manager, the account manager, the account director, the creative team that do all the production. So I was being project manager, account manager, and account director on all the clients. So I did have a project manager based in the Philippines, but then I had to train them up. And so I was doing that role at the start. And then I was the main contact for all the clients. And then I was doing the account director stuff, which was like the main strategy work. So I was really just in the weeds. Like I was like self-employed essentially. I think maybe at the end of the first year, we had our first account manager. And so then I would have handed a couple of clients over to them. But I was just delivering 80% delivering for clients, 20% selling, and then no percent on strategy.
Okay. So your first hire was the account manager.
So when we started, basically I started Fame because I was employed in 2019. We started a podcast, went really well. They became the first client. And so there's one guy based in the Philippines who was in my team there, came across as the first project manager. And so that was like the first full-time person.
Okay.
And then for the creative team, we would just have freelancers, freelance editors, freelance designers, etc. But then the next hire after that was an account manager who would actually be the main point of contact for the client.
Got you. Okay. Now, is there anything that you would have done differently looking back?
The obvious answer to that is hire earlier. Or that's like typical business advice, I think, like get out of the weeds. But looking back, for me to do that would have been higher risk. I would have had to put more money into the company. I think I put like £400. And so to like run a loss for the first few months, like someone earlier, would have cost more. So it would have been higher risk. And then B, I wouldn't have got as good at those roles. And so when I needed to write the documentation for doing those roles for onboarding and for hiring, I would have been worse. So I actually think it was a good time investment. And for anyone listening who's building a bootstrapping a service company, I think first 6 months, try to do everything yourself, because if you're going to train or hire someone else to do it, the better you are, the easier that process is going to be. And this is actually any role we've created in the company apart from like the audio editing and the design, I could basically do as good as anyone in the company probably. And so that has enabled us to grow with lower risk. E.g., we're more successful at hiring, we're more successful at onboarding, and more successful at managing because I have that ability.
The second year, what were you focused on where you've got this project manager on board, account manager on board? Was it pretty much the same thing, like the same focus, or a different thing that you focused on?
I only got completely out of client work in the last 6 months, but it probably has come down. So that 80% first year, maybe 60% second year, 50% third year, 30% fourth year, and then now 0. So in the second year, let's break that down. It was probably a bit more on sales, or we'll call it growth, which is I call sales and marketing. Maybe 30% because we had a higher lead flow and I had less clients because I had the account manager. So maybe 30% on sales, and then let's say it was like 40% delivering client work, and then the remaining part, 30%. I was probably actually then like doing what I like to call level 3 work, which is like designing processes. So level 1 is actually doing the thing. Level 2 is managing the person doing the thing. Level 3 is designing or deciding what work is to be done. And so I think in year 2, I actually started doing level 3 work where I was maybe documenting the account manager onboarding process, or document how we hire account managers, or document how we do a specific thing for a client. And then I think the really good way of looking at the entrepreneurial journey is looking at the stage of the work. So it goes from 1 to 5. I outlined the first 3. And 4 is taking systems and departments and making them work well together, which is really what I'm doing now. And then 5 is like looking to the future. And so what a typical entrepreneur should see is that they will graduate through their stages. At the start, they'll be doing a lot of stage 1, but then by year 3, 4, 5, 6, they're hopefully doing more stage 3, 4, or 5. So that my journey's followed that framework pretty closely.
Okay. And I imagine at the very beginning, you're probably working, 80-hour weeks, maybe even more. Did that gradually come down the past 6 months, the work in terms of work? And I think it has, because you're posting these lovely pictures like in Rome and on the beach. I'm like, okay, I know this guy is not working crazy like he was the first year. You got some time to relax now a little bit, right?
Yeah, I think what I've really realized recently is that for like strategic roles, so I told you level 3 and above, your output or your productivity is really not defined by how many hours you work. In the early days, like if I had a shed load of level 1 work, e.g. I had 8 clients to look after, my output or my productivity is correlated with how many hours I work because I just have to keep them all happy. But when you're doing level 3 and above, it's really having an insight or thinking about something can make you wildly productive. And that often doesn't happen when you're sat at your desk trying to do a task. So I think the workload has probably only come down in the last 6 months as I've been doing more level 3 and above work. For the previous 4 years, it's been pretty 12. So 12 hours a day times 5 would be 60. Probably not up to 80. I reckon like 50 to 70 hour weeks consistently.
Yeah, it sounds like, the first year, maybe the percentage of time that you spent strategically thinking about the business was maybe pretty small, maybe 5%. But now it seems like it's much, much higher, maybe 30, 40%.
Yeah, now like LinkedIn is 95% magic. Yeah, for sure. You're totally right. It's about 30%, I think.
Okay, good. Well, that's a good segue into LinkedIn because I first discovered you maybe about a year ago. You had maybe around 20,000 followers back then. And of course, we're in the same industry, podcasting. And I just thought, wow, this guy, I really admire him, what you've done with your business, because that's the kind of business model that I want to be in a few years. And I've noticed the past couple of months, it's like you've hacked it somehow. I know you talk about hacking LinkedIn leadership ads, but in terms of organic following, it's almost 100,000 now. So what strategy have you put into place to achieve that growth, Tom? Any secrets that you want to share?
I've got 3 things and a bonus one. So you're totally right. It went from like 25,000 to 93,000 in like 2 months, I think, 2-3 months. So the 3 things that I changed. First is I never used to like engage on anyone's posts really. Now that's like 30 minutes a day I'm engaging. And what I like about that is obviously it's going to help. It helps with the algorithm. If you're engaging, LinkedIn knows that you're contributing, etc. But then it also, I think, makes it more sustainable because you're adding value to other people and that makes you feel good. And if you feel good, then you're going to keep doing it. Whereas if you're just focused on like creating posts, trying to grow your own profile, it's like quite selfish and it doesn't make me feel as good. So that's one of the things. Like if you want to grow 30 minutes a day engaging with your people that comment on your posts and also just other random people. Second thing is not only, but increasing the amount of content you create that has proven to get engagement before. Now, you can't copy stuff. People have accused me of copying stuff. I like to think I'm inspired by other people. But basically, to sustain large amounts of engagement, the algorithm has to see your content as content that consistently gets a lot of engagement. And so any post you do that only gets 10 likes, make the algorithm think that you're not as good anymore. You have to consistently have bangers, basically. And the way you lower the risk of not having a banger is by just seeing other people in your niche and looking at content that they're creating that does get engagement, and then using that to inspire your content. Obviously, you have to believe in it and you have to not copy, but that has been big for me as well, is trying to consistently have bangers. Third, the analogy I'll give here is like of the bamboo tree that for like 5 years won't actually grow, it's still below the ground. And then in 6 months, it grows like 17 feet. And so I've been posting consistently on LinkedIn for like 2 to 3 years. And only, let me just explain the growth in the last 3 months. So I think that's a good analogy. And the reason I think that's happened is practice. So I've written, I don't know, like 500 LinkedIn posts that haven't got more than 50 likes. And so when I finally got these other two keys, the first two we've discussed, then I was ready. My skill set was basically ready. Like I knew how to write a post that would get engagement. So that's the third one. And the bonus one, I actually need to look up this quote. This is for like people to like get the super viral post, like plus over 1,000 likes. Well, it's basically the quote that says something along the lines of, people will do anything for those who encourage their dreams, justify their failures, allay their fears, confirm their suspicions, and help them throw rocks at their enemies. So for the super viral post, you have to create a vibe or write content that does one of those things. You throw stones at their enemies, allay their fears. That's how you get like the super engagement that fuels the virality. 2 seconds, I'll just have a blog out. Those are the LinkedIn hacks.
Yeah. As soon as you said that, I understood now why a lot of your posts like around management, micromanagement, or remote work, why they work so well. I get it now. Just from what you said from that quote. I get it because you've got so many posts about remote work and why you shouldn't micromanage. And it's definitely resonates with people who enjoy remote work, who see that post and like, that's me. Yeah, I don't want somebody hanging over my shoulder and always, asking, what are you doing? Where did you go? I get it now. Makes sense. Are the photos a strategic tactic that you're using? Because I notice a lot of the images, you're never really looking at the camera. They're always like a side profile. Maybe you're looking down at your dog. Maybe it's like a picture of your back and the sunset. And I'm like, I wonder if he knows something about photo images, because you're never looking at the photo, whereas most people who post a selfie, they're looking at the camera.
Yeah. So a few things on this. Single image posts, at least since I started posting them, work the best. So you need an image. Then the other thing I've noticed is that if there's a face that's like relatively big, not like super far away, that always performs better. So those are 2 things that anyone can take away. The dog thing is, I think it's useful. It is quite like advanced, I think, is that if you want people to like follow you in your story, then it's useful to have like other characters in the story that people can notice and start to like or dislike. And so that's why I bring Vera in a lot. Plus she's like super cute and I just really love her. And so it's just great. Also, Bear's been a cost center for 6 years. I had to buy her, I had to pay for her food and stuff. And so now it's actually good that she's making a return, Anyway, and then the point about not looking at the camera, this is just personal preference. I just don't know why. I just think it's cheesy. Whenever I see a picture of myself looking at the camera, I just don't really like it. And so it's more just like a stylistic thing. It's probably better to look at the camera for LinkedIn pics, but I just don't like them.
Okay, totally makes sense. All right, last question before we get into rapid fire. You've said that you're a bit of an introvert. And I'm just wondering, how does an introvert lead a team of 71 people? Is there any advice that you can give to other introverts who may be listening?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. The typical CEO is like, wants to have an office, have people around them, loves going to networking events and conferences. And I think that probably does make for a better CEO in general. But their disadvantages, I think, maybe their lack of I'm completely generalizing, but their lack of ability to form or empathy in one-on-one situations. That's something that I'm really good at. And so the way I'm the CEO of Fame is I don't do any of those things that the external extroverted CEOs do. I sit behind my laptop, write LinkedIn posts, have a lot of one-on-ones. That's not exhausting for me. big group meetings where I have to talk or present are more exhausting. So we have a leadership team meeting with just 4 of us. I have a no agenda one-on-ones, which are just one-on-one meetings with random people in the team every week. And aside from that, that's most of like the internal stuff that I do. And none of that saps my energy. So I think to summarize, I haven't thought through this probably before, if I built the business and my role to leverage my strength as an introvert, and it seems to be working, but then we obviously don't have a test case where the Fame version in an alternate universe where we have an office, everyone's there, and I go to loads of conferences, like maybe the business would be double the size, you know? So I think that the learning here is that if anyone's an entrepreneur building a company, understand what you are best at and try to build the business in a way that enables you to leverage those strengths.
Tom, do you get people reaching out to you, other CEOs or founders, for asking for advice on how to build a really good culture when a lot of your team is remote?
Yeah, that question comes up quite a lot, typically in LinkedIn comments. I say the most important thing is have values that you believe in, that resonate with you and that mean something, that are like specific enough, not honesty and integrity. There's a first step is define those. And then we have 3 steps. First, define them. Second, hire, fire, promote, and bonus based on them. And the third is just continually remind people about them. And if you do step 2, then people probably will be continually reminded, because if they're interviewing people, they'll know to check the values. If they want to give bonuses, they have to check the values. And so that's something that we've learned, is that make sure the values resonate with you, the founder, and then just continually, like CRO, like Chief Reminding Officer, keep reminding people. And you do that by making sure you hire, fire, promote, and bonus people based on them.
Okay, got you. Do you have your values displayed anywhere? Is it like on your, I don't know, website or anything? I'm just curious.
Yeah, they're on the website and in meetings. I used to do this a lot, but I don't run the meetings anymore. So I used to run like the whole team meetings, and I'd be like, just quiz people on the values and until like everyone had to know them. Should you join me to list them off? Or?
Sure, yeah.
So it's client, client, client. And you can tell me if you think they're tangible enough. Client, client, client. Basically, we choose the client first. Action bias, which is we prefer to just do stuff and learn. Operational excellence. With any people business, you need like strict processes and documentation. And then growth obsessed. So growing both client podcasts, the business, and ourselves.
Love it. Love it. Okay. Thank you so much, Tom. I got a few rapid fire questions. Are you ready? Just give me the first thing that pops into your head.
The first thing that pops into my head is probably going to be just thinking about the values then and how we used to do this thing. I can't remember what I was going to say. So if we move on to the next thing.
Yeah. All right. Here's the first question for you. Okay. First question. What was a favorite childhood toy that you played with?
I used to have a teddy bear called Winnie the Pooh. It's like a small little cuddly toy.
Okay. Second question. A song that you can listen to over and over again.
Right now it's called Deadbeat Gospel by Barry Can't Swim. Banger, we should link to it in the show notes.
Yeah. No, I'm going to look it up after this. Okay. What's the most interesting thing you did in the last 26 days, Tom?
So that was post-Rome. I think it was I used to play football a lot, and then I took like 18 years of not playing football. And then in the last 3 years, I started playing football again. And I had a coaching session with a football coach, which, because I haven't been coached for like 18 years. So I went back to it and developed all these bad habits, and he was like pointing them out to me. So that was the most eye-opening.
Okay. All right. Last question for you. Instead of taking aspirin for pain relief, you do what?
Recently, I've been lying on a thing called a Shakti mat. I don't know what it is. It's like a mat with lots of spikes on it. And so I have a bath, and then I'll lie on the mat for 20 minutes without a t-shirt and just lying on the bed. And I don't know about pain relief, but it's like, makes me so sleepy. So if I do that in the evening, have the bath and go on that, then I'll just like fall asleep straight away. Is
it made out of rubber, or what is it? What material?
The spikes are plastic. Like tiny little plastic spikes. Like it hurts, but not too much. It doesn't draw blood, but it's definitely uncomfortable, but you get used to it.
All right. It sounds very curious about that. Do you feel, is it health benefits?
Yeah, I do. I feel super sleepy afterwards, but I haven't noticed really anything else. Like it's good because you lie on it. You can't really read or go on your phone. And so for 20 minutes, you're just lying down, which I think is a good exercise anyway.
Yeah.
And then it makes you sleepy, which is good. But then I don't notice any health benefits of that. I'm sure the Shakti mat people say that are, but I haven't experienced them yet.
Okay. All right. There you have it, folks. Tom Hunt, founder of Fame. I will put links to Tom's LinkedIn profile. Make sure you follow him. as well as the Fame website. Tom, thank you so much for coming on Innovators Can Laugh.
I appreciate that. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, me too. I learned a great deal, and it was a pleasure having you on the show.